keep on coming here for Ike Batista, right? Remember when he used to be Brazil's richest man and one of the richest people in the world, right? Well, no longer. Brazilian prosecutors are investigating him for alleged insider trading. This is according to the Wall Street Journal. Prosecutors are looking into whether he sold shares in his oil company before damaging information about the viability of several oil fields became public. The allegation led a judge to seize his assets this week. Yeah, exactly, worth about 122 million Brazilian reals. And the article goes on to say that, you know, if he hadn't sold when he did, he would have cut his profit by about a third. Not his profit, but what he wound up taking home by a third. So just more hits for this guy.
So this is $57 million worth. But the other part that was interesting is he was holding the information for about 10 months before he told people that the oil fields weren't viable. But he was going to Twitter to tell people to buy shares in his stock exactly when he was selling his shares.
Really unethical.
So that's a fun little twist to the story, too.
I wonder what insider trading rules they wind up having in Brazil and how strict they are compared to the U.S. Because in theory, it's really hard to prove that.
You don't lose $35 billion without some kind of hiccups along the way.
Right.
So insider trading.
And by the way, you don't make $35 billion without some hiccups along the way. This is a guy who probably has a lot of people sort of out for him right now as well. So he can't afford to have any screw-ups.
But he can still afford the wig and the Botox. Like,
well,
how much longer can he do that? If he ever needs to go on the run, he can just ditch the piece and stop getting the injections, and we might not recognize him at all.
If only you were his lawyer.
Yeah.
All right, we've got a Bloomberg Businessweek story, courtesy of Mr. Chemi here. This is his research. According to historical data going all the way back to 1967, the growth pattern of the 1% club is almost identical to the growth of the S&P 500. So how do you like that? The market moves up, and the wealthy get wealthier. It's a reminder that the stock market really is the main source of wealth for America's richest.
Which is why...
the Fed has a trickle-down theory.
This is why zero hedge kind of people are saying, look, the Fed is just, you know, feeding this rich get richer thing. I mean, they're just, you talk about inequality, look at Janet Yellen, look at Ben Bernanke. These are the people that are fueling the inequality fire.
There's an 87% correlation to where the S&P 500 is and how much money you would make that year to be in the top 1%. So at the levels we are right now, you would expect $475,000 would be what you would need to be a top 1% person in America. But what's really interesting is that over the course of your adult life, 1 in 8 people will be in the 1% in 1 year. And only 1% of those people will actually be in the 1% for 10 or more years.
Well, this is my whole point about income versus wealth, though. I mean, income is very different than wealth. So some people may be able to hit that 1% like that, but then they're not necessarily going to be able to replicate that year after year after year. So it gets to tax policy and whether you really want to be taxing income the way you do versus wealth, which is a different thing. The other thing that's interesting about this story is that Vince Reinhart was on the show earlier this week, and he was making the point that actually the Fed has a very fiscally conservative, trickle-down economics theory, very much a Reaganomics kind of thing where if you help the wealthy, you'll help the rest of the economy. And he said none of them will actually admit it. Nobody wants to, like, publicly talk about this. But that's the theory. That's the thinking behind all of this. And this is why the Fed is trying to inflate assets in the market.
All right, well, now to the Netflix of China. Sohu is an online video platform that streams popular American TV shows like House of Cards. But last month, we learned that Chinese regulators ordered Sohu to remove The Big Bang Theory and 4 other shows after the government ramped up a crackdown on content considered
too offensive.
Bloomberg TV's Stephen Engel sat down for an exclusive interview with Charles Zhang. He's the CEO of Sohu earlier today.
I believe it will come back. It will back up. Will be back up. The government is reviewing it, so we haven't got the indication, but they told us that it will be back online. So they told us that we will let you, show it.
What's so offensive about The Big Bang Theory?
It is a horrifying show.
No,
it is terribly
awful.
A Good Wife,
it's
maybe,
about money.
but Big Bang Theory?
CCTV bought the broadcast rights for broadcast, so they don't want online competitors taking away their opportunity. So they're going to wait for CCTV to get their setup, and then they're going to let the online guys have it back. This is not about politics. This is about money.
But do you really want the Chinese to watch The Big Bang Theory and then think that that's representative of American culture? Even the fact that Americans like to watch that show, says something
I've
really,
never seen it.
really
China's
bad about our
House of
characters.
Cards says House of Cards is very
It's horrible. Who wants
they
to
like
watch
House of
that?
Cards.
They like House of Cards, and that is not blocked.
Americans love it.
I don't know why. It's true. It's very popular.
It's the #1 show on Sunday.
Isaac Webster, our producer, is in my ear saying, it is so good. That's why people like it.
I believe Isaac loves it.
All right.
Well,